February 24th, 1999.
It starts about here, right in the middle, and then kind of moves toward my left arm. Well, it starts in the middle here, and then it kind of moves into the left arm.
If you were searching for racist behavior,
back up, 45.
This would probably be the last group in the country where you'd expect to find it.
The bias is very troubling, and I think physicians contribute to it. This is the first time we've ever been able to say that after all these studies over all these years.
Studies that show blacks suffering from medical problems at far higher rates than whites.
If this continues on, you're looking at literally a decimation of the African-American population.
Wait a minute. Could doctors be contributing to the decimation of American blacks? That's the charge, and it's based on a new study in the New England Journal of Medicine. Tonight, America in black and white. Healthcare, the great divide.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
This is about as far removed from last night's program as you can get, and yet the subject is still racism. Last night we told you how the town of Jasper, Texas is coming to terms with being the place where a black man was dragged to his death behind a truck by an avowed racist. Tonight, we're going to focus on a group of men and women who are, almost by definition, humanitarians, who would be shocked to learn that what they do routinely fits quite easily into the category of racist behavior. We're talking about healthcare professionals, doctors, general practitioners, surgeons, specialists across the board. What some of them do is almost certainly not deliberate, but it's having an adverse effect on the health of their patients. And there is growing statistical evidence that if a patient is black, he or she is significantly likely to get a lesser quality of medical care. Now, you might be inclined to believe that this is a function of economic class as much as race. If a patient lives in a poor neighborhood, and many African Americans do, the quality of medical care is also more likely to be poor. True enough. But as medical correspondent George Strait discovered, if the patient is black, that poor quality medical care is just as likely even if he comes from a middle class or wealthy neighborhood. It's a question of race.
Watching the ships roll in, and then I watch them roll away again.
Late night in New Orleans. Otis Jenkins is just warming up.
Watching the time roll away.
He's a blues singer. For 37 years, his art has imitated his life.
Just wait time.
You got to live it. I've been there. Everything I got it the hard way. And nothing come easy.
Come on, baby. Down now on my beating knee.
Nothing has come easy, especially good health. Otis has been battling diabetes for 12 years. 2 years ago, he noticed his big toe was turning purple.
They told me it was gangrene and needed to be amputated. So I told them, no, I can't do that. It's like, you know, I ain't never had nothing missing on me.
Government surveys show blacks with circulatory problems are twice as likely as whites to have a leg amputated. Harvard researchers say a major reason is blacks are less likely to be offered an operation to save the limb. Otis says his doctor never told him he had any other option.
I know that on a whole, black people don't get treated the same as white people in the hospital system throughout the United States. I know this.
If he had a little bit more information, a little bit more support, he may have saved his leg if he was offered some alternative treatment.
Phyllis Landry works in public health in New Orleans.
For some reason, I don't know why, African-American life is devalued at some point. I don't know if it's a conscious decision or it happens. And I think a lot of it has to do with history.
Has anyone ever discussed how much kidney function remains?
No.
At any point?
No, I think...
Brenda Nixon is about to discover she needs emergency treatment to save her life.
Are you interested in knowing?
Absolutely.
You think you could handle it?
Yeah, I think so.
Ms. Nixon is also diabetic. She had been feeling fine until this day when she found out the disease had virtually destroyed her kidneys.
5%.
That's what I have left?
You now have to make the decision as soon as possible as to when you can identify how you want to be dialyzed or how you want to move quickly to be transplanted.
For more than a year, while she was managing this daycare center, Brenda Nixon's kidneys were failing. But her doctor never mentioned she might need a transplant until a few weeks ago. Scared and angry, she came to see transplant surgeon Clive Callender for a second opinion.
I never felt I was that sick. I mean, because I honestly felt that if I had reached the stage of transplantation, that I would have had that discussion by now. And to suddenly find out that somebody's telling me I need to be on dialysis tomorrow.
Within hours, she had an operation to prepare her for dialysis. The next afternoon, she was hooked up to the machine that will keep her alive until she gets a kidney transplant. Dr. Callender says Ms. Nixon should have been put on a transplant list years ago. Waiting so long complicates her care.
How unusual is that case?
Well, unfortunately, I think that is typical, and that she just represents the tip of the iceberg. She is an excellent example of the dynamics which results in blacks waiting for transplants twice as long as other ethnic groups.
Those dynamics basically are?
Those dynamics basically are institutionalized racism. The fact that you don't treat black patients the same as you treat white patients.
And it doesn't matter what the illness is. 3 dozen surveys over the last decade show the disparity in care is pervasive. Black babies are 2.5 times more likely to die before their first birthday as white babies. Blacks are 34% more likely to die from cancer and twice as likely to die from heart disease. Blacks are 50% less likely to get heart bypass surgery, and the problem is not just with high-tech care. Blacks are 25% less likely to get pain medication. The disparities go on and on. In much of medicine, there are 2 Americas, one white, one black. Some of the disparities in care can be explained by the fact that as a group, blacks tend to be poorer, sicker, and have less health insurance. But 10 different studies done around the country, which controlled for these factors, show the disparity still exists.
Deep breath. In and out.
5 years ago, Donald Reynolds went to the hospital with a heart attack.
Did you get any of those clotbuster drugs?
As far as I know, I did not.
And you didn't get angioplasty?
No angioplasty at all.
And no catheterization, so they couldn't really tell how many of your arteries were blocked.
He was simply stabilized and sent home. A few weeks later, he went to see Dr. Aubrey Lewis. The next day, Dr. Lewis performed an operation to unblock an artery in Mr. Reynolds' heart.
In Mr. Reynolds' case, you had a gentleman who had insurance, intelligent, well-spoken, and yet still was not even given the basic standard care.
Why do you think this happened?
Well, it's hard to say. I don't know whether or not it's because they felt I wouldn't understand if they told me, or whether it's because we come from different backgrounds or whatever. Because I was black and they were white, I really don't know what the reasons are.
There's no way to tell for sure. But when you keep seeing the same pattern, one has to wonder what is going on. What's so wrong with the system that's supposed to be caring?
Doctors traditionally insist that they aren't part of the problem, that they treat the illness, not the person. But the study being released tomorrow has found a way to look at the relationship between diagnosis and race. That part of the story when we come back.
This is ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Cadillac.
Splendid-looking Lexus. Thanks. Like my Seville, no doubt a technological marvel. Blessed with the control of the world's most renowned driving system. System? Nope, that's right. You don't have the North Star system.
Seville, with all the power and control of the North Star system. Now just $549 a month. It's what's next.
Do I want to know how much? No, it would break your heart.
See your Cadillac dealer today.
How does
Dannon find peaches that are so succulent. The same way other fruit experts do. Only a lot faster. Which is why the fruit on the bottom of every wholesome, creamy, nutritious Dannon yogurt is bursting with so much flavor. It's everything any fruit lover could hope for. Dannon, made with fruit picked at the peak of delicious.
Tomorrow, the desperate attempt to protect you from infections. Is it making matters worse? Alarming facts about antibiotics. Watch ABC's World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
The internet is a space-age jumble of microscopic doohickeys.
Doohickeys? That's technical.
Well, I'm trying, okay? In reality, the internet is a bunch of phone lines that she maintains under here.
I keep Bell South lines reliable.
Which makes BellSouth.net reliable for you, me, and everybody else.
It sounds like somebody paid you to say that.
Well, they did a little bit. You know, they also think I know how to install phone lines.
You don't?
No, not really.
Get out of the hole.
What?
Up, come on, let's go. Come on, there you go.
No, what?
Let's go, kiddo, come on.
What happened?
Your children and your grandchildren love to get your attention. Now it's your turn to start being the center of attention with Florida's minivan, Silhouette by Oldsmobile. Enjoy car-like ride and comfort, versatile seating, and extra storage room to handle all your needs. Start having fun with Silhouette Premier's exclusive video entertainment system. Silhouette by Oldsmobile, ideal for your active Florida lifestyle. Now get $1,000 cash back on Silhouette at your Florida Oldsmobile dealer.
Well, I remember I had a really bad day at the office. And that day it was noticeably worse.
That's stress. If it were a computer game, it might be called virtual examination. But for the doctors who took this test, for all they knew, it was real.
We required everyone to complete the entire interview. And so physicians couldn't take one look at somebody and decide they had cardiac disease or not.
Dr. Kevin Schulman of Georgetown University designed a simple but elegant way of answering the question no one had ever asked. To what extent are physicians responsible for the differences in care that have caused so much suffering among African Americans?
We thought the only way to ever address this question was to have physicians see identical patients, so that they'd have the same clinical characteristics, they'd have the same type of chest pain, they'd be the same age, they'd be dressed the same way, and then see whether or not, given all that, given everything else being equal, whether or not people were treated differently based on their race or gender. We tried to make this as realistic as possible.
Dr. Schulman created video discs using actors, white,
Starts about here, right in the middle, and then kind of moves toward my left arm.
black,
Well, it starts in the middle here, and then it kind of moves into the left arm.
each reading identical scripts describing heart pain.
We tried to make the gestures the same, and the gestures went along with the type of chest pain they presented in the cases.
Dr. Schulman took the discs and computers to various medical meetings. More than 700 doctors took part in what was described as a government study on clinical decision-making.
This is the key question.
At the end of the examination, the doctors were asked which patient actors needed further advanced treatment.
In our main analysis, we found that blacks were 40% less likely to be referred for cardiac catheterization compared to whites. Cardiac catheterization is our major diagnostic test to see whether or not people have heart disease, see whether or not they need further treatment or operations or procedures. In our study, the clinical characteristics were identical, and yet physicians treated patients differently.
Not surprisingly, the doctors saw the patients differently, too.
Black patients were rated as lower income than white patients.
Even though they had the same job as the white patients, same address, same insurance.
Everything was identical. They had the same employer, the same occupation, the same type of insurance company.
So why the difference? Researchers say it's bias.
We think it's subconscious. We think it's not something that physicians are actively doing. It's just an effect of how they automatically characterize people who come in to their office or to their emergency room.
Dr. Schulman's study will be officially released in tomorrow's New England Journal of Medicine, but already it has served as a wake-up call for many physicians. The experiment was so well controlled, most say doctors can no longer ignore the subconscious bias many harbor. Researchers do not conclude that doctors are racist, just human.
I would like to be able to discuss the issue of sort of the accurate observer versus the, stereotypical bias.
In another remarkable experiment, sociologists Michelle Van Ryn and Edward Hannon sent questionnaires to white doctors asking why they refused to recommend surgery for their black patients with advanced heart disease. Many doctors said they just assumed blacks wouldn't exercise and eat right.
Someone isn't going to participate in cardiac rehab, their outcomes won't be as good. Why should they get this very high-tech treatment?
Isn't the doctor making a moral judgment then?
Possibly, and it's definitely true that there's enough evidence that there's harmful outcomes to African Americans, specifically because they're African Americans and not just because they don't have insurance.
I think physicians are chagrined.
Dr. Nancy Dickey is president of the American Medical Association.
But the big issue is not just convincing them that perhaps we do have some subliminal biases in our decision-making, but then how do you go about correcting it?
What role does race play? And what role does racism play in making these decisions?
The University of Wisconsin is one of the few medical schools in the country that has courses trying to correct those biases. Dr. Vanessa Gamble begins by asking students about black stereotypes.
They don't listen, they're resistant to care. It's hard to work with them. They can be belligerent or give you attitude.
Dr. Gamble is trying to overcome what she calls the silent curriculum, which reinforces racial differences.
And let me give you a concrete example about the violent stereotype. There was in one medical school's curriculum about emergency medicine that if a black man comes into the emergency room, ask him if he has a gun.
Her students say in most classes, discussions about race are discouraged.
I think it's uncomfortable for the teachers to bring it up where it's appropriate for them to bring it up, and then it's uncomfortable for students to ask questions.
Everybody wants to believe that we live in this ideal world where it doesn't really matter what color your skin is, but it does.
People are afraid that if they speak out, they may be labeled as racist. Doctors are always supposed to have this kind of aura that, they're just kind of quiet and they do everything right. So this, like, opening up this huge problem makes a doctor vulnerable to being a real person.
The late Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall once said, whether you are white or black, you have to recognize that you have certain feelings about the other race, good or bad, and then get rid of them. But you can't get rid of them until you recognize them. The new research gives medicine the power to finally begin that process. This is George Strait for Nightline in Washington.
When we come back, I'll be talking about all of this with the Surgeon General of the United States.
Now that is a sweet investment.
You have a retirement plan?
Oh, sure. Invest, get rich, retire at 45.
Well, I'm 58.
Huh? Oh, your retirement plan.
Who's looking out for your investments? E-Trade, the #1 rated place to invest online with free real-time quotes, 10 times more research, smart alerts, all from $14.95. Isn't it time you looked out for #1? Call 1-800-E-TRADE-1 and see why someday we'll all invest this way.
No sample case, no order book. Hey, I can live with that. I've got a job to do. The back office delays are killing me. The home office wants to hear productivity is up. And if you're slow, you're dead. I don't know how we did it before.
Everyone and everything working together in a whole new way to make your business succeed.
An entirely different kind of Camry. It's for you.
Coming up.
Tonight, Daisy can't contain herself.
Oh, of course it would, because you... Oh,
No. Politically incorrect at Bill Maher coming up on ABC.
Silverado. It has a more powerful V8 engine than Dodge Ram and Ford F-150. It has a bigger extended cab. And it's the only pickup with four-wheel anti-lock disc brakes standard on every model. It's the truck, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Silverado, the truck from Chevrolet.
We've got the truck. We've got the price. $15,995. Paul's doing a film with a famous artist.
Nice to meet you. I'm Yoko.
Yoko Ono?
I understand. It's very nice. It's very nice to meet you.
But will he blow the deal?
I want you to film the wind.
Film it.
Yes.
Seriously?
Big break is Gone with the Wind.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out there. I'm running, filming wind. Sweetie, what? Stop!
That's not about you. Late night tonight on TV 20.
And joining us now here in Washington is Dr. David Satcher, the Surgeon General of the United States. I read a piece that you wrote many years ago, Dr. Satcher, in which you referred to the relationship between a black patient and a white doctor as being like the master-servant relationship. So clearly, in your mind at least, not much has changed over these years, but what do you find impressive, if anything, about these studies?
Well, I think it's the first time that we have really documented in a large study the effects of race and gender on physicians' decision-making about medical care. So I think it really helps us and moves us forward, hopefully, to begin to solve this problem. You're right. I mean, when I finished medical school and residency training, I had been impressed with the role of race and racism in the doctor-patient relationship. But I think this study documents it better than anything that we've seen.
It must be incredibly difficult to convince doctors who, by and large, A, have a good sense of self-esteem, but B, really are people who try to work hard for humanity, that they are guilty, even subconsciously or unconsciously, of racism. What has been your experience when you try to explain that to white doctors?
I think it is difficult because I think in general, doctors don't think of themselves as having the same problems as other people. But the fact of the matter is that the same problems that affect relationships in other segments of society affect the doctor-patient relationship. And the sooner we become aware of that and admit it, we can begin to solve that problem. So hopefully the next step now will begin to move to solve the problem.
Yeah, how do you do that? I mean, now that you can show it to doctors in black and white, and I assume that they're more impressed by empirical data like that than they would be just by word of mouth. What do you do?
Well, I think the American Medical Association passed a resolution in 1996 committing themselves to eliminating disparities in health care. And at that time, we had not documented that a major reason for that disparity had to do with the role of doctors and their attitudes. Now that that's clear, I think obviously professional societies, medical schools, and all levels of education of health professionals should be involved in helping to sensitize and educate physicians and other health professionals about this problem.
Should there be someone on the staff of every major hospital? Should it be necessary that every doctor, who after all is not going to go back to medical school, undergoes some kind of, I don't even know how to refer to it, some kind of racial sensitizing process?
Well, I think so. You know, I think during the time of the Tuskegee apology 2 years ago, we said at that time that every student in medicine and public health should be required to study bioethics. But we also said that we needed continuing education for people who are already out there practicing. I think the same thing is true here. This is a kind of bioethics, if you will, but I think this informing physicians, sensitizing physicians about their own attitudes that may well be subconscious in most of the cases can help to move us forward. But everyone must be willing to participate in that.
Is it also a question of sensitizing the patients? In other words, getting the word out in the African-American community saying, yes, you do have a right to question the authority of a doctor. Yes, you do have the right to say, is this really the most up-to-date procedure that you're recommending?
Yeah, this impacts on both the doctor and the patient, and you're absolutely right. Knowing that this problem is real, hopefully patients will realize that they have a responsibility to really fight, if you will, for the best quality health care. Ask difficult questions, get second opinions,
but seek to get that which is best for them. You can think of some dramatic examples about the way we treat diabetes and the use of amputation and organ transplants and things like that. But there's a real need for patients to become more aggressive and to participate more, and not just to be afraid and to say, I don't trust the system, so I'm not going to get care. That will not work. But what will work is to get involved and to bring your best selves and information to the system.
Dr. Satcher, we've got to take a short break. I'll have time for one more question, one more answer from you when we come back in a moment.
You're on Love Matters. When Love Matters, I'm here to help. Dave?
Yeah, I'm having this problem with my girlfriend. It's kind of involved.
Diarrhea. Get it, and you want it gone.
You're a really good listener, you know.
He needs
I really
Imodium AD.
appreciate-
Imodium Advanced. It's even better.
Only Imodium Advanced relieves diarrhea plus cramps and bloating by combining 2 medicines, and it's even faster than Imodium AD.
So was I right to invite my mom along on my honeymoon?
Oh, Dave, absolutely.
Imodium Advanced. Faster relief you can count on.
Michael, would you like to hear a bird call?
Sure, Foghorn.
With MCI, a bird can call for just 5 cents a minute every Sunday. Now that, my friend, is a beautiful bird call.
Call, I say call 1-800-Sundays to sign up.
Stuck with a flat tire? Not with this tire. Even with no air pressure, you drive to safety. AquaSteel Run Flat. Don't get stuck. Get there.
Good year, good year.
Hey, truck buyers, did you know new vehicles depreciate up to 37% in 1 year's time? Most of it in the first 10 minutes. So why buy new? Avoid the high cost of new car depreciation at budget car sales. Hundreds of nearly new pre-owned vehicles that drive like new, but cost thousands less. A new 99 Ford Taurus would cost you $18,995, but you can get a nearly new 98 Taurus from just $10,995. So why buy new? Yes, North Florida Budget sells cars. Budget car sales, Ocala and Gainesville.
99 Honda Accord LX, $16,988. Only at Buchanan Jenkins and only for a limited time on a new loaded 99 Honda Accord LX for $16,988. That's over $3,300 off. You pay just $16,988. And get Buchanan Jenkins' lowest price ever on a 99 Honda CR-V LX, loaded with automatic air, cruise, and major power options, just $18,888. We've got Central Florida's best selection of hot new accurate TLs. No waiting, just pick one out today at Buchanan Jenkins, State Road 200 next to Target, Ocala.
Hook up your kitchen with cabinets and countertops from Morell's in Lake City.
Channel ABC Saturday at 8/7 Central.
And we're back again with the Surgeon General, Dr. David Satcher. Dr. Satcher, a word that is going to send shudders down the spine of every doctor in America, lawyer. Is this something that should be put in the hands of lawyers?
Well, you know, it's very hard to respond to that because I think there are cases that have legal implications, but I think the first challenge here is to the medical profession.
Well, I mean, you'll certainly get the medical profession's attention.
No question about it. No question about it. But I would hope that the medical profession will move aggressively to deal with this issue. And obviously, there may well be legal implications to this also. But I think the first challenge, as I see it, to us as physicians and to the medical profession and other health professions, to respond aggressively to solve this problem. And we can.
Dr. Satcher, we're out of time. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Good of you to come.
You're quite welcome. Thank you, Ted.
That's our report for tonight. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
Nightline has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source. ABCNews.com, now a part of the Go Network.
Thursday on the ABC Big Picture Show, Whitney Houston.